Megan had been planning her move for weeks. She had found the perfect house in a quiet suburban neighborhood, and she was eager to start her new life. She packed up her belongings and said goodbye to her old rental apartment that she lived for 7 years. She had a lot of memories there, but now she is ready for a fresh start. As she pulled up to her new home, Megan couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation. The house was a charming 2-story with a white picket fence and a well-manicured lawn. She couldn't wait to make it her own. Although it is a little further away from work, yet she knows this house is under her name. Megan spent the first few days getting settled in. She unpacked her boxes and arranged her furniture just the way she wanted it. She spent hours decorating, hanging curtains, and putting up pictures. The house started to feel like home. As she worked, Megan couldn't help but notice how quiet the neighborhood was. It was a welcome change from the noisy, bustling city she had left behind. She imagined all the peaceful afternoons she would spend sitting in her backyard, enjoying the peace and quiet. But as she settled in, Megan couldn't shake the feeling that there was something strange going on next door. The neighbor's backyard was completely hidden from view by the awkwardly high fence. Even from her second-story windows, Megan couldn't see what was inside. It made her feel uneasy, like there was something hidden in there that they didn't want anyone to see. Megan wondered if her neighbors were trying to keep something a secret, or if they were just very private people. Either way, it only added to the mysterious atmosphere of the neighborhood, and Megan couldn't help but feel a little bit scared of what might be lurking behind that fence. Despite her unease about the high fence, Megan settled into her new routine, enjoying all that her new neighborhood had to offer. She explored local cafes and shops, getting to know her new community. However, her curiosity about the neighbor's yard only grew stronger. She started asking around the neighborhood, trying to learn more about who lived behind the fence. Megan learned that the high fence property belonged to Mr. Johnson, an eccentric old man who had lived there for longer than anyone else. He was rarely seen outside, and when he was, it was usually around 2 a.m. to go grocery shopping. People whispered that he had an extensive collection of guns, which only added to the sense of mystery and unease surrounding him. One guy even told her that the community had once sent someone to talk to Mr. Johnson about the fence, but he had outright rejected their request and even threatened them with a gun. Megan had always been a curious person, so when she heard about Mr. Johnson and his mysterious stories, she couldn't help but wonder what he was doing in his backyard. One day, she pretended to water her plants and walked around the fence, hoping to find a crack to peek inside. Unfortunately, the fence was so well built that she couldn't see anything. Then, her chance finally came. One day, she needed to climb up to her roof to fix a few pieces of roof tile. She prepared the necessary tools and replacement roof tile, but also brought binoculars to look into Mr. Johnson's backyard. She climbed up to the roof, lay down, and used the binoculars to catch a glimpse of what was going on. What she saw shocked her. The backyard was filled with sculptures of animals, but they were not the cute, lifelike ones she was used to seeing. These sculptures were grotesque and twisted, almost like they had been twisted and contorted in pain. To make matters worse, the sculptures had big wounds that showed the bone, and there was blood all around the wound. Megan felt a chill run down her spine as she realized what she was seeing. She couldn't believe that Mr. Johnson was making sculptures in such a horrible form. The sculptures were so realistic and detailed that it was hard to imagine how much time and effort had gone into creating them. As Megan's vision swept through the binoculars to Mr. Johnson's background, her view landed on the back porch of the house. Then, she noticed that Mr. Johnson was sitting in a rocking chair, staring at her through the binoculars with anger on his face. Shocked, she put down her binoculars and almost fell from the roof. Megan knew she had stumbled upon something she wasn't supposed to see, and the feeling of unease in the pit of her stomach refused to go away. She couldn't focus on anything for the next few days, haunted by the image of Mr. Johnson's angry face. Finally, she decided to confront him and apologize. She prepared her best cupcakes, mustered up her courage, and walked over to his house, ringing the doorbell. However, there was no response. She rang again, still nothing. Feeling uneasy, Megan hesitantly tried the doorknob and found the door was unlocked. She pushed it open, stepping inside the dark and musty house. As she made her way through the rooms, Megan was horrified to see that the walls were lined with twisted sculptures she recognized from Mr. Johnson's backyard, but these were human sculptures. Every face appeared to be in pain and agony. She screamed and ran out of the house, her mind racing with fear and confusion. Instead of running outside, she made a sudden turn and ran towards the backyard. Megan was filled with terror as she saw Mr. Johnson in his backyard, sitting in his rocking chair with binoculars in his hand with an angry expression on his face. Despite her fear, she took a closer look and realized that the expression on his face wasn't one of anger, but of pain and agony. What was even more alarming was that he was in the exact same position she had seen him in a few days ago. Suddenly, it dawned on her that the Mr. Johnson she had seen from her roof was just another sculpture. Megan let out another piercing scream and dashed back inside the house, hoping to escape. As she hurriedly passed through the kitchen, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Mr. Johnson was standing in front of a sculpture, with his back to Megan, and appeared to be working on the sculpture. To her horror, she realized that it was an unfinished sculpture of herself, and it looked incredibly lifelike. Megan was frozen with shock, unable to move as Mr. Johnson turned around and saw her standing there. He was an old man in his 80th but was walking towards her with his sculpting tool as if he was going to stab her. Megan screamed and ran out of the house as fast as she could, her mind racing with fear and confusion. As soon as she got home, she called 911. Within a few minutes, the police arrived at Mr. Johnson's house to investigate. Megan anxiously looked through the window, hoping to see the police bring Mr. Johnson out of his house. To her surprise, she saw the policemen walking towards her house. They rang the doorbell, and Megan quickly opened the door. The police informed her that Mr. Johnson was not going to press charges against her for trespassing on his private property. Megan was shocked and asked the police about the weird sculptures made from real human and animal parts that she had seen in Mr. Johnson's house. The police chuckled and explained that they were just normal wooden sculptures, albeit very realistic ones. They told Megan that she was just a little too paranoid. Though relieved that her neighbor wasn't an evil person as she had feared, Megan was still stunned by the revelation. After the police left, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. Little did anyone know, that very day, Mr. Johnson had completed Megan's sculpture. After admiring it for a few moments, He made his way down to his basement and retrieved a gun. Dressed in dark clothes and a sinister smile on his face, he prepared himself to do what he always did after finishing a sculpture: to finish his next victim.